Welcome back to Marvel Monday. I am Mike.
I am Brandon.
I got to start doing the snap with it. I am Mike.
That'd be a cool effect if you just, and then it
Yeah,
just
and
fades,
then
everything starts fading. I
yeah,
fade away.
yeah, you dust.
Yeah,
That'd be,
that's
that'd be,
that's when the budget gets bigger. We can start
yeah,
doing those types of CGI effects.
yeah, exactly. So, like I said, I actually brought my mug this time, and I have a cappuccino. It's a cappuccino.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that was my attempt at a dad joke to start things off. Now people are skipping the video. They're skipping on. It's how it always happens. So I thought it'd be fun this week to talk, and there's probably stuff that's out there, all kinds of new things that are out there. But I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about some of the craziest um, theories, I guess, that people have for like what's going to be coming up in Doomsday. And what made me think this is we got a comment on I think it was on one of our shorts from the last episode, where this person was suggesting that the villain in Brand New Day might be Queen Spider. Did they say? Hold on, now I have to go back and look because I forget. But and there was one other person that they suggested, and I thought it was interesting to me only because it was one that like I hadn't heard anybody
Mm-hmm.
suggest yet, and also and I kind of replied to the person saying, you know that like that at this point there's all this speculation for who the main bad guy is, based somewhat on things that have been said, based somewhat on what's already out there, like all the stuff with Jean Grey and that. um and it just made me, like, my response was that I'd kind of like it to be somebody that nobody's expecting. So the suggestions that this person had, and if I could only find it, um, yeah, the one person suggested Venom for the character that's going to return. That whole discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what are your thoughts on the main villain being Spider Queen, or maybe the Jackal and the Spider Queen?
So I was actually going to talk about the Jackal because I
Okay.
have a theory on that.
Yep.
So, do you know anything about the Jackal?
I do not.
So he is a Spider-Man villain. He's Professor Miles Warren, I believe. And he's a professor at Empire State University,
Oh,
where Banner's teaching, right? And
right,
that's where Spider-Man goes to talk to him, is at the college.
right.
So I looked a little bit more into the Jackal and what his powers are and everything like that. There is an issue, I believe it was Amazing Spider-Man 146, where the Jackal controls Scorpion and has
Ooh,
Scorpion attack Spider-Man along with a group of villains, right?
uh,
There's
okay,
that scene that came out in those clips where Scorpion says something like, "Oh, you'll wish I was Scorpion," right?
yeah, or no, no. He goes, "Oh, you think I'm
Yeah,
Scorpion, or something like that." Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So then I'm pulling up my notes, sorry. So
Interesting.
I was looking up his powers though, and it said um, he is a. Hold on, let me pull it up. Sorry for the dead air. Um,
These are the
I
times where
believe
I usually
that,
start to sing.
yeah, I believe that he was a, like his professor is a specialty in like genetic abilities or genetic mutations,
Mm,
stuff like that. A lot of his storylines in Spider-Man comics is him being like in that realm. Like he's able to
right,
clone, he's in the genetic space, right?
right.
So people are theorizing that Keith David is playing him.
Right.
and that he was the voice. It was his voice saying, was it
Talking
like
about
spiders have three
spiders.
life cycles and all that.
Yeah.
So that's clearly like he's talking about like the genetics, and he's working on that, and he's always been fascinated with Spider-Man.
Right.
It said that there's this one note here that says, depending on the universe, the Jackal has utilized mind controlling technology. For example, in the Spider Man animated series, his counterpart Raymond Warren, so just like different universe, engineered mind control devices to physically bend others to his will.
Wow.
My thinking,
Wow.
what is Bruce Banner wearing in the series, right? He has on that little thing that he had from She Hulk
Right.
that's keeping the Hulk inside of him.
Right. Right.
What if Bruce is
The
working
inhibitor.
the inhibitor? Yeah. What if Bruce is at Empire State University? He ran into this Professor Warren, and
Right.
they work together to help completely like contain
Well,
Hulk, but really he snuck in a mind controlling device
right.
to
Be-
Bruce.
because some people have pointed out that the device on him now looks different than the device that was on him in
Hmm.
She-Hulk, which suggests that there's been modifications made to it. So that would make
And
that's
then
see,
and then Peter going and talking to him in that scene
right?
is, I'm wondering if it's like uh the Jackal would be hearing all of those conversations somehow through the device or whatever. And
Maybe.
then the whole thing of, the only thing that throws me off is the how would he jump from person to person, but
Right.
they could also maybe make it that it's like he created a device that's just able to control people broadly.
Right. Right.
But that would be how then he finds out that Peter's Spider-Man.
Right. Oh, well, okay. Because and I think maybe we talked about this last time, but like maybe when we were talking about the Jean Grey aspect of the mind control thing, was it that that she wasn't able to mind control him, but she was able to read his mind and know that Spider-Man was Peter Parker? But
Hmm.
what if what if somehow he's mind controlling, like the whole thing was Scorpion? What if somehow when he's mind controlling Scorpion, he you know, is able to, like in other words, if the whole thing that's going on with Peter and that metamorphosis that's going on has nothing to do with like natural,
Hmm.
just a natural thing, and it's something that is
The
being
Jackal's doing.
yeah, that he's initiating somehow through some kind of, and one of the attacks is either the attack from the hand or the attack from Scorpion is them, getting him with whatever they're getting him with that causes that.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So the
that's
only, so that's like, and it seems like a really good, like, the more I think about it, the more I think like that could really be it. That's a villain
yeah,
that they've never done before. That's like an aspect that they've never done to like Spider-Man. The
right,
only thing that's throwing it off is, okay, but then who is Sadie Sink playing? Is
right,
she still
right.
Jean Grey? Because she's appearing in Secret Wars, so she has to be
Well,
like
well,
something relevant.
so the original stories were that she's with the Punisher because he's trying to protect her from something. So what if she is Jean Grey and the gene mutation that's going on, no pun intended, is something that was triggered by experimentation by,
By Miles Warren.
yeah, right? I
Yeah.
mean that could, because she'd be around the right age that she might be, and maybe that's how they're gonna, initiate
Hmm.
the X-Men
Or
story, or maybe she's someone completely different who's somehow
or,
being
or
manipulated by
maybe
him.
maybe they're making Jean Grey Peter's age, so like college aged. And if they're doing that, maybe she goes to Empire State University and had Warren as a professor.
Right,
And then that's how he's like introduced her, and yeah, maybe he starts to do experiments on her or
right,
like that.
right. So there was, I think I sent this one to you, but there was one scene that I've seen on a couple places now on TikTok of Spider-Man saying something about organic webs. Spider
Hmm.
Peter too had organic webs. He was cool. You're cool.
Hmm.
And that whole thing, and people are going crazy over the reference to Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man as Peter too.
Hmm. Yeah, it's good to know that too. They're also not just making it like I think there was even a clip of uh Tom Holland talking about like that it's confirmed that like he built his suit, like Peter built his suit modeled after Andrew and Toby's.
Yeah, yeah, which is kind of cool.
So it's
Yeah,
like
that's
it's
a
yeah,
cool little
it's
touch.
neat that like they are making it that like no, he interacted with those two. Like real
Yeah,
life
yeah,
he interacted with those two Spider-Man and then yeah, with
yeah,
that it's like he remembers all of that.
yeah, and they're not ignoring that whole aspect of the story, which I kind of like. Like they don't have to, everything that happens go, well, back then those other Spider-Men told me this, but
Hmm.
like totally ignoring it too would be weird,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it did happen. But one other thing I wanted to kind of go into a little bit was some of the other like crazy like theories, not crazy, but interesting theories out there. Because there are some that I've seen like that reference things related to the whole thing with Endgame coming out again, and there being extra scenes in there, and a lot of speculation as to what those scenes are. Like one of them I saw recently was um, the scene with that it's going to expand on the scene with Steve going back and being with Peggy, and they're going to show like right there they're going to show like Loki showing up, or maybe they're going to show that scene, but then it'll go a little longer, and it'll that's where you'll have that whole scene of him, you know coming back to the house with on the motorcycle with the baby and all that, and
Hmm.
then in that moment is where you're going to see Loki show up to tell him something about timelines collapsing or whatever is going to happen there.
Hmm.
Um, and relocating them because the story is, I think we talked about this before too, that they're moving him from 616 to 828, or 828 is being created by, I guess, him being there, one of the two. That leaves a
Hmm.
little bit of a hole though as to how he got back to 616 to give Sam the shield.
Yeah,
But yeah,
because he's an old man at that point. It's
yeah,
not
yeah.
like.
So he had to have. I mean, maybe he wasn't all. I mean, then there were always those things of them showing Peggy's funeral,
Hmm.
and
Are
young
you saying?
Steve being one of the pallbearers, and then there's a gray-haired guy on the opposite side of him that looks like it could be him, but
Hmm.
old man him, and is that who that was? That would be interesting. I don't know if they've totally retconned that to say that that was the case.
Yeah.
And then let's see what else. There was another one that I heard that was related to Thor. It talks about Rune King Thor versus God Emperor Doom, and it said that I guess there was a Hasbro Marvel Legends toy leak that somehow slipped out online. How does this stuff keep happening, by the way?
Yeah.
Um, and there was a specific Thor like figurine that had um, translucent, can't say that, gold lightning and a gold helmet, and they said that that was like the comic signature of Rune King Thor,
Hmm.
and so there's like speculation related to that talks about, I guess, Steve and Thor going to the end of time to find Loki. Loki is somehow sending messages to Thor about what's happening, like in dreams or something.
Hmm.
And I guess that Rune King Thor like somehow unlocks some sort of magic that like is more along the lines of Scarlet Witch's magic, and that's where that comes in.
You know, the more
So
that you hear though, it's like, how are they gonna fit that into even if you make it like 3 hours?
yeah, yeah,
You
that's
know,
exactly it. Like that's gonna be a long movie. Um,
because it has
yeah,
to
let's
end with Battle World, right?
right, exactly. Yeah,
Okay,
it
that's the way
does.
it has to end if you're doing Secret
Yeah,
Wars after it.
right, right.
Because remember when a lot of people during Infinity War wasn't the original thing, it was Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2,
I think so. Yeah.
and they didn't announce Endgame until the trailer.
Right. Yeah, they didn't
So like,
announce what the title was going to be until the trailer. Although there was tons of speculation that it was going to be Endgame
mm,
ahead
but
of
like,
ahead of time.
going into Infinity War though, you didn't know how it was going to end, and a lot of people were saying like, oh, it might end with like, you know, Thanos not getting all the stones, and like you didn't know it was going to end with the snap. People didn't expect
Right.
it to end with the snap because
Right.
you thought it was Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2,
Right. Right. Yeah, you thought it was just gonna. I don't know. I don't know. I
continue.
don't know what
Like
you thought. Yeah.
they'll leave you on a cliffhanger or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Not leave you that. Oh gosh, everybody's dead.
Yeah, like
Uh,
he actually won. They did the snap.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But like this, excuse me, it's called Doomsday and then Secret Wars. We know that.
Right. Right. Yeah,
And if
we
it's
already know
called
that.
Secret Wars, we know that that has to be based on Battle World,
Right.
right?
Right.
So
Right. Yeah. It's
it's
just
kind of
how do
like,
we get there? Right.
yeah. And yeah,
Yeah.
it seems like a lot's gonna, maybe that's the point of the Endgame re-release, is to start to, like, to your point, you have a scene where Loki shows up with Steve, and now that explains we don't need to run through that in Doomsday when if
Right.
it is Steve going to the Fantastic Four universe, we don't need to explain why Steve Rogers is at the Baxter building,
Right.
because you
Right.
should have watched the
Exactly.
Endgame release then.
Right. Right.
And
Well,
like
and
they
that's
can
kind of what
kind of
the
get through that stuff.
yeah, they're kind of saying that like you really do need to see that to prepare for Doomsday.
Hmm.
Um but yeah, so it's got to be if they've added things that impact how you look at Endgame because they've pretty much said that Doomsday is a direct sequel to Endgame, which is kind of interesting because it kind of then um I don't know, it kind of wipes out a lot of what happened then in like the multiverse saga, like everything that happened in Quantumanium, um, and and that like, but yet at the same time, the way they're talking about some of the things that happen related to Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man universe
Hmm.
and Deadpool and Wolverine showing up, kind of that part of it is clearly tied in. Um, then there's another one, and this one heard a couple places is that basically, um, although Doctor Strange, I don't think Benedict Cumberbatch has been announced as being part of the cast of this, right?
Yeah, no,
They haven't announced that, but
no.
there are people speculating that Doctor Strange is going to show up basically as Doom's second in command, and like the original theories that I heard were that it was a different Doctor Strange from like a different universe because we know they're from there's Doctor Strange is apparently in every universe, but the latest thing is the theory is that it's actually going to be the 616, the one Doctor Strange we all know, right?
Hmm.
That comes in because if you think of that ending of Multiverse of Madness, where Clea, I think her name is, comes
Hmm.
and says, there's an incursion and you're going to help me fix it. And she takes him with her, through a hole in the universe, right? Kind of would make sense that maybe she'd be taking him to Doctor Doom,
Hmm.
since that's why he's
Hmm.
coming is to deal with all these incursions or
Hmm.
the impact of all these incursions. So I'm like, yeah, that
I
would
could
make
see
sense.
it.
That one
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense.
because I could see it being too that like Doctor Doom convinces him that the all those incursions, there's only one solution to it, and
Right, right.
you know,
In the grand calculus of the multiverse, their sacrifice will be worth far more than their lives.
there you go.
Do you know that line appeared in two different movies? That appeared in by two different uh, Doctor Stranges. Yeah, by
Oh, was it? It was both the
it was
Multiverse of Madness, wasn't it?
no, they weren't both in Multiverse of Madness. The first one time was in No Way Home because that's what he said to Peter when he was talking about letting all those villains die.
Oh, right, right.
And at the second time was the I think it was the the ponytail Doctor Strange right at the beginning who said, you know, that he said to America Chavez, your sacrifice is worth more than your life, or something to that effect. I think that's where the other one was, but it was like 2 times the exact same phrase came up. So that would apply here as well.
Hmm. But that would be weird if Clea's working with Doctor Doom.
Yeah,
Like, I wonder
I that's
how that would all happen. You know?
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd have to look into the history of, her, and if there is any, like,
If there's like a precedence for it.
reference, yeah, precedence for that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm trying to think if there was one other one that I had read. I had them all on my phone, and my phone just died, so that's no fun. Um, so darn it. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think. There was another one that was a really good one, and it's now it had to do with the events of Endgame when they go back to this. And this one I don't think is accurate, by the way, but I'm gonna put it out there anyway because that's why we're here. Um, it has to do with Tony going back to 1972, right? And somehow him being there impacted, when the child was born to Howard Stark. That, I don't know, he didn't become Tony, he became, Doom.
Hmm.
Like, that was basically the theory, that some of the things that happened, with Shield, and there was actually another one that I saw too that was talking about, um, like the Pym particles that were taken
Hmm.
from 1972, that caused. I think you talked about this one too, right?
Hmm.
That caused, Hank Pym to get upset with Shield, and so that might have caused something that ended
That
up leading to
theory
Doom.
was that he blamed Howard for it, for taking the particles. I don't know how they got to the conclusion that then, like, Howard Howard got blamed for it by Shield or
Right.
something like that,
Oh
and
yeah.
that made Howard run off to Latveria, change
Right.
his name to Von Doom,
Von Doom. Yeah.
and name his son Victor, and
Yeah.
that was
That.
like the result of it.
Yeah. But well, and I guess so that wouldn't be the 616 universe then. Obviously, that would be a different universe. And
Yeah.
that would explain, why he. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's going to be interesting because I don't think they've have they confirmed though that the Doom who is, who we're going to see, the Robert Downey Jr. Doctor Doom in this is from the Fantastic Four universe, right?
Yeah, they haven't confirmed where he was from.
Yeah, I feel
But
like
like
they
the people that are saying like, oh, he's playing a Tony Stark variant.
variant, right?
There's He can't be playing a Tony Stark variant, right? Because his name's gonna be Victor Von Doom. They said that when they announced
Right,
him. They said there was only one person who could play Victor Von Doom.
right.
So
So here's
his name
here's
isn't gonna be Tony Stark, and he just named himself Doctor Doom or
right.
like anything like that.
So
But like,
here's the thing though. There, going back to Endgame again, right? And maybe this will be part of it. There's that scene where Howard Stark says to Tony about his wife being pregnant, and Tony gets kind of a weird quizzical look on his face, like, that doesn't make sense.
hmm. Hmm.
And one of the theories has been that Tony wasn't their son, that he was adopted. And I think there is like one of the comic book storylines where he's actually adopted. I think
Hmm.
there's actually one of the comic book storylines where he's adopted and his father is actually, Mephisto. But I don't know if that's going to be this one. But so if that's the case, it could be that he was adopted in the 616 universe from somebody whose last name was actually Von Doom.
Hmm.
And in
Yeah,
whatever universe he's
that's
from,
been
that didn't
that's been
happen.
kind of one of the early ones, but I feel like, wouldn't that ruin Tony Stark's story? in the 616, right?
Um, no, why? I mean, why though? Like what?
No, I don't know. It would, because it would be like that guy's supposed to be Doom. You're watching all the stuff early on, and it's like that's supposed to be Doom.
Well, I mean, I think it's more a matter of like the difference between, somebody who is raised to be, to achieve greatness and somebody who's raised to,
Yeah, I
be a
guess
bad guy. You know what I mean? Like,
that's kind of like a lot of the villains, where it's like the difference between the hero and the villain is circumstance.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's I think true in general in Marvel, right? Like,
Hmm.
you know, like they're all not a bad guy until they fall into a vat of electric eels
Yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever the case might be, or a super collider. um so like, well, I guess he was an escaping prisoner, so he was, I don't know, but anyway,
yeah.
that's off topic. But yeah, that one I thought was a little crazy, because it's like, I don't know, that again, going back to the idea of putting all of this in one movie again, unless there's scenes that, you know the scenes that get added to Endgame somehow start down that path, and then you don't have to explain it in the movie. But then you're also assuming that everyone's going to go see that re-release of Endgame, unless maybe in like November the new version of Endgame then shows up on Disney Plus
Yeah.
or other places, which
Yeah,
could be,
I
that
wonder
could
how
be.
soon they will release Endgame, the re-release on. And does that make the, I guess, old Endgame now irrelevant?
Yeah, the old Endgame is no longer is no longer like, yeah, that's true. I
Has
don't know.
that ever happened before? Probably like what was it, the Halloween movies where they kept releasing movies and it's like, ah, no, okay. Well, Halloween 2 doesn't, that's not relevant
Yeah.
anymore. We're just gonna act
Yeah.
like that didn't happen.
Yeah, it's not canon anymore. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if that's I mean, there are people in the Star Wars where, I know this isn't a Star Wars
Oh yeah,
podcast, but there are people in the Star Wars universe that would like them
to do
to
that with.
decide that the
Yeah,
latest sequels were no longer canon. I
yeah.
don't know. I
This
don't know.
this
They
is
could.
this
I
is
mean,
Disney test running that to see if we can
yeah,
or they
yeah.
can get away with that.
Yeah, I feel like if they did anything there, it would have to be that, like, Dave Filoni would write a storyline that involved somebody changing the timeline, and that timeline is no longer the one that that is no longer the sacred timeline in Star
Yeah,
Wars lore.
yeah.
Um,
We'll save that for Star Wars Saturdays.
yeah, Star Wars. I don't have any more time to do podcasts. But by the way, this episode, I just want to tell everyone, this episode almost was Brandon and Alyssa, which would have been a much different Marvel Monday episode. It would have been Brandon explaining everything about Marvel to Alyssa, who
Hmm.
doesn't really pay attention to any of this. So that would have been fun. That would have been like Marvel Mondays 101,
She would
you
have
know?
talked about it. I think she would have talked about Spider-Man.
Yeah, she would have, but she, I don't know.
She
It would have
wouldn't
been
be
a
up to
different,
date. She wouldn't have been
you
up to
know,
date on what's happening, but
yeah. Should we, you know what? It would have been a different episode, and maybe we'll do that episode one day. One day we should make Alyssa come in as well and have the three of us on it.
hmm,
Just, I don't know. I don't know
we
what that
talk
would be
about our
like.
favorite theories, and then when it gets to her,
Yeah, she'd just be like,
she'll have one for us.
yeah, exactly, exactly. All right, well, this was fun. I wish my phone didn't die, because I probably had more, but those were the ones I wanted to talk about anyway, because I think those were some of the better ones. And the most interesting one though is what we talked about, not related to Doomsday. Excuse me, the one that was related to Brand New Day that you brought up, because that seems very plausible to me now. That seems
Hmm.
extremely plausible that the whole Sadie Sink, Jean Grey, mind controlling people is a complete head fake, and we'll see what, because we're almost to July. Actually, I'm sorry, this episode is on in July.
You know what I wonder though? Not to take up more time right when you were trying to close it out,
No.
but the the Jean Grey thing. What if he has some sort of device on Jean Grey, and
Also possible.
would he be able to mind control her into mind controlling people
Oh, like it's like a
like a
piggyback thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Would that
that
maybe
could
be
be.
something? And then
That could, and
that's where,
that's why she's a bad guy, right?
and maybe, but maybe he breaks her. or maybe he has her break Scorpion and all those guys out early in the movie. That scene
Right.
happens early, and then it's the
Right.
Punisher getting Jean because he finds out that she's behind all of it,
Right.
and he's helping protect her. You
Right.
know?
Right. Yeah, that could be. Like I like that theory because it does make it easier to explain why would the Punisher be helping somebody who's doing all this, weird stuff, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, we're getting closer. Soon we'll find out how many of our theories and all these other theories were dead on and how many of them were just like so far out in left
Hmm.
field that
Yeah. The
whoever made those shouldn't be able to
the people
theorize
early on
anything.
who said she was gonna be Toby Maguire's Spider-Man star,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and he
yeah.
like left over.
Yeah,
And was it
right.
Mayday Parker?
Yeah, Mayday. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That you know what? Maybe she is. We don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah, maybe,
All right, guys.
maybe.
Thanks for checking this one out. Comment on the video and let us know your theories or what you think of the ones we talked about. Bye, guys.
Bye.